guy.
Yep. Come on down. Oh, you're gonna start tagging people?
Yeah,
I think.
my best.
All right. Welcome. Welcome, everybody.
Hey.
Say hi as you guys are coming in, for sure. So,
everybody.
We're on Marcy's bed
yeah.
with lots of men.
What else is new? So we just had a transformational pillow fight.
Yes. And we jumped around.
Yeah, and
then
when
we put our pants back on.
And when my head got knocked, I had an actual question. So something that's come up for both us and a lot of people that we coach and train is we tend to go through some amazing experiences.
Rapid expansion
experiences, whether it's through seminars or ceremonies
going down to
or
the jungle,
whatever, and then you come back and you have this incredible mind expanding experience.
Very dynamic.
And then, and I'm putting this in quotes specifically, the real world happens and
we
friends
come back
get
into our old contracts, our old illusions.
Friends get scared, parents get scared, what's happened to you, what's happening to you,
What are you doing?
what are you doing,
Yeah.
and it tends to
Shake the boat.
no, I don't even say shake the boat. It tends to have you question
How big you can be.
how big you can be and what you actually experience. Like, is this real? Is this not? So I think this is something that happens to a lot of people, whether they're in our live events or just coaching or going through their own seminars. So I wanted to open this discussion and just kind of give people input on how to deal with that when you go back and
Let's
interact
look at why
with
it
those
even
people.
came up, right?
Yeah.
So can we share?
Oh, absolutely. I can share. Absolutely.
Okay, go for it.
So
we're at breakfast.
Yeah, we're
this
at
morning.
right now. This
On our
is
beautiful
like
bed and breakfast.
like 20 minutes ago. And no, he's good. He's good. And I got a message. I got a message from my wife who was basically saying that our friends are scared and nervous because I've been posting things on Facebook.
Because he came out of the jungle and was like, bright and shiny. No, cute,
So I asked the question of the group, like, how do you deal with that? And what are some things that you can be aware of? And we just had an amazing conversation. So we kind of wanted to bring this to the masses because I think this is something that tons of people deal with all the time. So
Ilan had said to me, Mars, how do you, like what you'd experienced is your wife saying, hey, our friends are nervous about what you're experiencing. All of a sudden he comes out and he's big and bright and shiny and he's speaking really big and he's this big voice. So he's a big energy because he's here to be a leader. And for them to say, hey, we're nervous. And he said, how do you deal with that? And the first thing we always look at is like, whether it be all of us being leaders, when you get a hater, when you get anything that you step outside the box, it's always seeing it for what it really is, which most people don't get this. This is where they go wrong, is they go, I have to defend myself, I have to attack, I have to say, either I have to stand for my truth. So notice, it's either I attack or I cower. Or I have to hold back my voice. I'm making people scared. People are not liking me. It's too much. I'm too big. What you experienced is big, right? And the principle that I always teach in Goddess, and obviously even with my badass men as well, is that when you're the source of your own experience and you stand in your true source of your power, you don't cower nor attack. You stand in your truth and you hold your truth. But instead of seeing it as, oh, now your friends are attacking you, we actually get to see it as the real truth is your friends love you so much. They love you so much, they're scared, they're nervous. So whenever you get anybody that's like, whoa, that's out there, that's crazy. The truth is like, aw, thank you. Thank you. And you guys have all been practicing the feminine. These guys came out of the jungle and they're so soft and sweet. And they're these powerhouses that also are soft presence and power, which then can be received at such a greater degree. And so it's like, aw, thank you. Thank you for letting me know you love me so much, that you're concerned about me, that you want to understand what I've been going through. And I'd be happy to share with you what my experience was. And what it is, so that I can share that with you and know what I'm going to do. And so you brought up though, like it's this the thing that hit me that you really said was it's like, how much of an impact can I make? And I'm like, if you're really here to make an impact, are we really making an impact if we decide to say, I have to hide or pull back a little bit? So the advice from everyone else, and this has happened to me for years, from, every time I stood out and people would be like, I would never tell my clients to do that. If you could just not swear, if you could just pull back, if you could just not be so expressive, then you would have a bigger following and all this. And I say, fuck that, no, not true. I actually have the most biggest things come to me because I'm willing to say, hey, I believe in full expression of myself and I'm worthy to be heard and seen and share my gifts. If I was to say, well, it might scare people, I'll hold back, then I'm reaffirming all of you need to be scared and hold back, to be afraid of being seen or to be rejected or be judged, and we're here to stand for something else.
Yeah.
So you really do say, I want an impact.
So hearing that for you, what do you see as like the shift? What's opening up for you? How did you vocalize that?
So, a couple of things. One, I mean, my initial reaction when I first heard that was the experience that we just had this week. For the first time was so baked into my knowing of who I am and what I stand for. You may want to just...
We're on that one now. No, that one. I think that
flip that one around.
Disconnected, unfortunately.
But it was so...
Sure,
it was so real and so down to my bones that honestly for the first time I was like... My initial reaction was I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's what you said,
I don't give a fuck. I'm going to shout this from the rooftops because I believe in my soul that that's the way that I'm going to get to express and be the change.
Yeah.
Having said that, what you said, which I loved, was that you really can look at this from two perspectives. One is they're concerned, they're worried, and they're judging me. And what you gave me was, it's not that. It's they're loving me. And what that opens up for me is the ability to go back and have these amazing conversations with people
like,
that I...
Fuck you, fine, you're not in my life anymore.
Exactly. Which a lot of people do, by the way. A lot of people do that. And I think we talk about all this time, like, that's the biggest mistake. They're there to love you. They're there for you. Yeah, exactly. So what you said is like, wow, amazing. Thank you for the feedback. And now I get to go back and have amazing conversations with people that I truly love and give them an opening to ask whatever question so that they can see, okay, this is what got triggered for me. And like even in that conversation, there's an opportunity for them to grow and see maybe what's there for them about their own personal growth.
And because the only reason they are triggered, even though we can see it out of love, is it's a trigger of their own projection of that's too big, that's too scary, that's too out of the box. You might leave me, you might be have an amazing experience. Greg brought up a great aspect about soul.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to talk about that.
But one thing I want to say, and behind that, it is, and I want to honor too, though, that you said your response was, for the first time in my life, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
What they think.
That was
what anybody
word.
thinks. And what did I say? I said, "Aw, sweetie, I'm so proud of you." And right?
Yeah.
Like it has to come from you being that no matter, even if you go back and see it out of love and say, thank you for letting me know you care. I'm happy to share my experiences with you. Let me share these experiences with you. And if they still say, that is wrong, that is crazy, that is outside the box, you're being too big, we don't want to, interact with that, you can go, thank you, I love you, and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because I know my truth.
Yes.
You came out of the jungle and you're like, and this is why we went.
Yes.
To know at the cell of your being your truth and who you are. If you can't deny that. And so when it comes down to it, it's like, no matter what, you're here to make an impact. But I love what Greg said about
and I'd love for you to share that also.
Social contracts,
So it works like this, and it works for any personal development. You could read a new book. You could go to Tony Robbins. You could come to any of our programs where, go to Badass and go to the jungle and rack your entire world. Is before you showed up to any event, you created a social contract with everybody around you. The way that you act, the way that you speak, what you eat, how you sometimes don't complete projects. This is an unseen contract because they're like, Greg, this is exactly who you are and who you've been for the last 5 years, as long as I've known you. And now you came home and you just changed everything.
Yes.
And then the next thing you did
Greg's
is
a happy boy with a feather.
I love my little feather.
I know, you were such a little boy.
So the next thing that you do is you say, well, hey, I'm new and I don't give a fuck what you think. you're completely breaking the social contract, and you don't understand that it's you that just did it. You made the change. You caused a negative reaction, and now they want to fight. So instead, it's realizing, hey, I just changed this. My new contract is normal. I understand out of love. I just broke this. I understand I'm a different person, and this is what I love. And allow them to have time to acclimate in instead of just like, boom, break you off Facebook, you're done, get out of my life.
Can I just say something? So for those of you guys that are listening, I have my phone here open with the video. If you have any questions, I'm going to actually monitor some stuff here. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, this scenario happened, how would you deal with this? You have some pretty remarkable minds here.
This is the badass breakthrough.
So I'm going to monitor, and I'm going to answer your questions as we go through this.
So something that I just on that we want to look at is this is where my genius is the micros, right? Like, and so it's like, even when we say we cause a negative reaction, could create us to be like, well, I can't again be fully in whatever I'm meant to experience. It's like, it's actually just feedback, which I love that you're like, ooh, feedback, that there is someone having a perception or something that doesn't feel good, and how can I love and lean into that? And something that we were talking about, which I feel like is a whole other aspect that's really super important, is with ourselves, right? Was we were talking about the little boy inside, and how when we're going to go home and we have all of a sudden you're in this new experience. So say that like Greg brought up, social contracts, and you go, cool. How do I actually express to everyone, this is who I now choose to be, and this is where I'd love support. So even if to your friends and family, be like, I can understand. And so guys, like we're talking about, if our intention, and this is where it gets kind of like it's a fine line. If our intention as leaders is we want to impact the masses, we want to give you the freedom that we've gone the journey of discovering for ourselves, that one point comes up and I can see how people go, well then why are you so big and so rah? Because if you're so rah, people run, right? And so there's a couple points to this. We say rejection equals protection, and that even if, again, like if you are like, this has been my experience, this is what I want to share, and they go, I still don't want anything to do with you, because I would say people either love me or hate me. Right? You guys know that, right? You either love Marcy Locke, or you're like, she triggers the fuck out of me. And that's okay. And I don't take offense to it, and I'm not attached to it. And that's where I can go, oh, thank you for, sharing all that, and I can understand your perceptions, and feel free to not follow me. I love you and I bless you, and I'm so happy that you're in. I can honor their experience they're in. But rejection, them rejecting me, is actually protection for myself, because what happens, I draw in the people like, I want your message. That speaks to me. But if we're not willing to speak it, then they can't hear the message. So I think just sharing that this is the fine line we deal with, and that people go, well, if you just hold back, you affect more people. But is that really true?
No.
That you affect more people if you'll hold back, when actually we're just reaffirming we have to be small, and we can actually, so now we can watch our words. You can utilize your language to say, for anyone that would be like, that's crazy, you can say, I can understand you feeling or perceiving that it's crazy. I was there too.
I also want to just mention, like how many of us, we feel gifted, or we have self-expression or creativity that is sitting inside of us, and we kind of like stuff it into the shadowy part of ourselves, and we play really small in that field, and we don't let people know that that's who we are, and that's what we're about, because we're afraid that if we told people there'd be judgment. It's like people who find out that they're gay and live in the shadows with it, and then when they come out with it, it allows for all this illumination to happen in terms of them really stepping in truly into who they are. Now that's gonna rock the boat a little bit for people who knew them, because their speech patterns are going to change. Their structural language might change, and how they walk, and how they choose to express themselves, and all these different things. However, that person is deeply stepping into their truth, and all these experiences for anybody who's in development or personal spiritual development, plant medicine based development, doesn't matter. It's all kind of plant based, non-GMO, organic.
We're not talking protein.
Shaman sneezed on really good shit. All that stuff is really like aiming the laser in the same direction, which is just like you feeling that call to start sharing yourself in a way that you've never done so before. Now that's going to come with like a little bit of experimentation. It's like, all right, well, when I share myself, what's the feedback that I get from my environment? Looking at that feedback, saying, hey, is that really how I want it to come off? Is that really the impact that I want to make? Is that really who I want to be in the world? However, if you don't experiment, if you don't put yourself out there to see what's going to happen, how would you ever know? And it also reminds me of people who go on all those singing shows and talent shows and all those kind of things, and they're standing on stage shaking because inside they know so much that this is their truth. And then whether they're sad or depressed or happy or whatever in that moment, but they just they let it out, and we're all just sitting there with goosebumps all over our bodies because we're watching somebody reveal themselves. And it's a reflection on our own wanting to reveal ourselves. Now, there are so many experiences in this world, whether it's extreme sports or base jumping or whatever, that allow you to push yourself into certain flow states that reveal to you, wow, this is who I am. And then a whole world of possibility opens up to you. And that's what these experiences are. Yeah.
Wouldn't come up if you don't do what he's saying, which is you experiment. But if we just go, now we've been leaning into this, all of us are practicing, not trying to figure it out with our heads. That's why we're saying and hoping this next level of understanding comes out, and that it's not just the mindset. The mindset is actually you blocking yourself from the universal how you're meant to operate, and feeling that guides you to the next greatest thing by being like, if I act this way, then I'll get this response. If I do this, instead of you feel into, you're like, I be this, and then what's the feedback of how I get to share more love and how I get to express at a greater degree. Mark, you had this kind of come up for you, even in that you said, as you were like, you did a video when we were leaving the jungle yesterday, and you said, oh, I'm noticing some people might really be like, whoa, Mark's a totally different guy. What was there for you?
Well, so, I think some things that have happened to me based on past experience where there's been massive transformation in a really short amount of time, which is what this has been for all of us.
And by the way, Mark is the badass of corporate transformation.
Exactly.
That's where I play. So, what was coming up for me yesterday is, just based on some past experiences, that some people close to me have felt scared that because I'm growing so fast, they're going to get left behind.
Yes.
Right? They're going
so
to abandon them.
Aww.
Right? So I know that's been happening in my marriage. Like that. Those are the kind of things that sometimes come up for others. And so if you're the person who's watching somebody go through massive transformation, it's not that they want to abandon you or that they want to leave you behind. I mean, they want you to actually share in it, right? But maybe some of those communication barriers, or we don't know the right things to say, and it gets to be hard to relate.
Like we're puking a new language that we don't quite know how to articulate.
And so if you haven't experienced this shift, the change, like you might start to tell a story about what this person's going through, and that may not necessarily be super, positive or whatever about that. And so there's that side. And then for those of us that are going through the transformation, it's important to understand that you may not be able to just really truly understand and feel what we feel, and we've got to just be okay with that.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
And that's why you say that's okay. I can express it to my greatest degree. And I mean, to share like a story. And this is where I was saying earlier, I had conversations this week, like I can hang with the boys and you guys can say and do anything around me because this is what I do. Like we break through all things, we look at all things, everything is okay, there's no judgment. And there's been some things that came up this week where people are like, that's not how a girl should act or a woman should act, that's devaluating, etc. And knowing my own journey where I had to break through all these things is why I can, so if somebody doesn't know, they're just like projecting that, maybe I'm, maybe you're crude or you're saying pussy or you're doing this or doing that. And what I shared with you guys this morning is even the story of us sharing of like where we've been. And so we were talking about, I want you to tune into your little boy, right? Yeah. And see where, as these programs come up, you actually get to look at the contracts that you even made with your own little boy of where why he feels scared with being seen this much or doing this much. And for my own personal experience, just to share with you guys and put this into kind of understanding, is I was telling these guys about how when I first got offered national TV to do ABC4, and instantly, because your body never lies, your body's the first thing, and this is why feelings and emotions and all of this inside you is really what's going on. Your head actually is just playing a game around it. It's trying to like validate it or see it the way it wants to see it, or run from like your scared little boy or girl and try to keep yourself safe. And my right foot shut down. Like I couldn't put pressure on my right foot. And I went to the chiropractor and he did something with it and it was like worked for 10 minutes and it shut down again and it shut down again. And I was like, obviously like, interesting, what's going on? Like, what am I feeling? And as I tuned in, it was the idea and the story that I'd made with the little girl that if I'm seen more, I'm unsafe. Yeah. Because I had rape attempts, stalkers, kidnappers, all those things when I was little that I attracted because I had the beliefs that the world was scary and unsafe and I couldn't trust people and all that I attracted those things. So with the little girl, it was like, hey, if you're seen, we're in fear, so I'll do anything to shut this down. I'll make it so you can't walk, I'll make it so you can't function, so all this stuff shows up. And so I was telling these guys, as it's come up over the last year, as now I'm like, I get to be the fucking sun for the world and share this message. I then have to look at where I'm still hiding, where I'm still scared, where the little girl is still maybe wearing a mask, or what still there might be belief systems or stories lying there. And what came up is even like me realizing I had to look at the contract I had with the little girl. The little girl was just like, no, I want to keep you safe because we decided together that if I'm hiding, if I'm the sun, I'm exposed. And I just had to have a conversation with my little girl and be like, aw, thank you, sweetie, for doing everything you could to take care of me, to keep me safe.
Yeah.
And the truth is that I know and understand now is that actually hurts me. That actually keeps me from living my truth and being safe. And this is why. When I am being seen, so look, we're being seen now.
Right.
There's more angels around us. There's more friends around us. There's more, there's more people around us that support us and love us to actually spread the message because we're in the light.
Yeah.
But when I'm hiding in the dark, I'm actually unsafe.
So Tony asks, Tony, thanks for dropping the question. Ron Lynch, by the way, what's up, buddy?
Love you.
Way to come on board.
Documentary
Coming out
lockdown.
strong, Ron.
So Tony, this is kind of the question that we've been dealing with, and I just want to specifically give you some do's and don'ts. So she asked, my immediate family struggle with me. I trigger them massively. And I find myself making myself small for fear of pissing them off, getting angry or frustrated with me. Would love a perspective on dealing with it. So this is kind of the whole conversation, Tony, that we've been having. And I just want to reiterate, because I think this is really important. All feedback is feedback.
Yeah.
And it's not...
it's bad.
It's not bad. They're not mad at you or angry at you or frustrated. What I'm, in this conversation that we had downstairs and continue to have here, the people in your life that are frustrated or upset or maybe worried are generally the people that love you the most. Mm-hmm. They're the people that have been around you the longest, right? And like Greg was saying earlier, you have contracts with them and you've trained these people a very, very specific way to interact with you a very specific way.
Yep.
And because you've trained them that way, right, they deal with you that way. Now you come into that world and you're like, well, I'm not that person anymore. I want you to deal with me this way. Mm-hmm. And they get really thrown off.
Yeah.
And the things that you're feeling, the pissed off, the rocking the boat feeling, all that kind of stuff, doesn't necessarily, if you can just shift your mind to not hear it as, oh, they're really pissed at me, I need to get away, mm-hmm. or I'm doing this to them. Remember that no one reacts to anything that someone else does, right? It's someone says something, they internalize that, and their reaction is based on what they're saying about that thing. Has nothing to do with you. If mm-hmm. you guys remember anything, it's like they're not reacting to you mm-hmm. at all. Having said that, you have an opportunity. And this is the opportunity that I got to see today, which is I have an opportunity to go back mm-hmm. and interact with the people that love me more than anything. Mm-hmm. And get their world. Mm-hmm. Get their world. Get where they're coming from. Where is the nervousness or scared or worry?
What are you feeling and what's the thought? And
then have a conversation. And get that feedback into my bones. Because, right, like, I can be 100% responsible for how they're responding if I choose to do so. I can also be like, fuck them. I don't need you in my life anymore. Mm-hmm. But that's not, I believe, what you're committed to in your life, Tony, or anyone for that matter. Yeah. So if you use this as feedback, right? Like when we were in ceremony, one of the things that I love is everything that happens is for your highest good, mm-hmm. right? Like we've all had that experience. Mm-hmm. Anything that happens is for our highest good. And every single one of us...
No matter what happens.
No matter what, exactly.
We're all like, I'm with you, brother.
And every single one of us yes. had a day or part of a day that was really trying and really challenging and really intense, whether physically or mentally or something. And somehow, when you're on medicine, you know, like in the back of your head, there's always this thought, like whatever you're experiencing, like this is to serve my highest good.
Yeah. Like
and when
more,
I know.
More. I'm like, I got you.
And when you get to the other side of it, you actually experience that. Like you feel how that cellularly changed you.
Yeah. Sure.
So for me, it's like, okay, everything in life is that. Everything in life is that. And these people are here to serve you and to serve your highest purpose. And as long as you remember that and don't come at it from, well, every time I share something with you, you get pissy, or every time I do, you make me feel wrong, or blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, you can do that. And
you stay in the same place.
Exactly. It just shrinks you.
Let's take it to a deeper level.
Please.
Okay, so you're saying that because of how they react, So you choose to react actually
Yeah.
by saying, now notice, when we take full responsibility, you were the one projecting. You were the one saying, they make me feel this way, they think this. That's a projection. Have you actually had the conversation to be like, hey, I notice I'm feeling like there's some energy disconnect, or I notice I'm feeling like, it just doesn't feel like it's really good. Can you help me understand, what's the thought in your head, or what's really going on, that I can understand? Is there something that I've done or something that I'm doing that created a misperception or a trigger? So are you taking full responsibility? So actually to say that the people in your life think this, do this, etc., even if they voiced it to it, you're projecting that, and you get to take full responsibility. Notice you're reacting. So there's a difference between reaction and response. Reaction is your subconsciously, because I believe we're literally living subconsciously. Now when we choose to live like we live, which is like we are conscious moment by how we feel, the thoughts coming up, and etc., we take full responsibility. We sit, what we've been doing is sit with the feeling and sit with the feeling and go, how do I choose to respond? And actually when I sit with the feeling, my mind, and I can go, oh, my human brain wants to respond, wants to react this way, it wants to feel rejected, or this or this.
Tell them about the silly brain, what you do with like, oh, silly brain.
Aw, silly human brain.
Yeah.
Aw, right?
Tell
I
them
love
about
it.
that. That's great.
That's it. It's just like you go, you might go, they're this and this and this. It's like, So notice, if anything doesn't feel awesome, if anything is something that does not serve you, having that thought that people are judging you, that they reject you, does that fully serve you? Does that serve you? So when we take responsibility, we go, interesting that I had that thought. What am I really feeling? I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling like, they don't approve of me when I'm myself, which is just showing that your core limiting belief is still the little girl. It's like, I'm not good enough being who I am. Aw, and why am I feeling this way? Because it looks like when they said that, or when that happened, or it looked like they kind of put their guard up. Again, these are all projections that you are creating as your illusion. And we go, well, what do I really want? What I really want, and so we can go, silly human brain, what do I really want? Because I am taking full responsibility for myself. What do I really want? What I really want, like you got clear on this morning, is I really want to embrace my friends and family. I want to love them. I want to share this message with the masses. I want to impact lives. So that's what I really want. What would my new belief and perception be?
Exactly.
That my family actually loves me, that my friends are actually concerned about me out of love, and they're actually asking these questions, which I could have projected, again, my own thoughts and fears of me not being enough or accepted out of fear, or I can see it as like, feedback is that they're concerned, they have some questions, they want to love me. So my new thought and perception is that my family and friends love me, and that it's safe for me to be me. And now what's the action step? These are my 5 steps, right, that you guys practice. The action step is like, what would I get to do in this circumstance? Like, okay, I get to have a loving conversation and say, thank you, my friend. And maybe put something out to friends, be like, hey guys, it's come to my attention that a lot of people are wondering what I did down in the jungle, and why I would go to Colombia and do these experiences, and I would love to share with you. I just want to say thank you for loving me and caring.
Exactly.
I'd love to share with you.
That's that piece. It's like, as soon as you even say that, and Tony, like, even say to yourself, as soon as you say something like, wow, you guys love me that much. You love me so much that this is how you're expressing it. And remember, like, people don't have necessarily the tools. They're not necessarily playing the game that you were playing.
And that's where you can see them out of love.
Exactly.
And you can't put an expectation on them either.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're responding to you from their little child, right? Because their little child is going,
I'm not safe.
Yeah, wow, this is so big, this is so fast, right?
What happened to my Ilan?
Exactly. And that's where you can come in and actually be that for them. And again, this is all for me, like, what I'm excited about now is that I have an opportunity to grow from this experience with my friends and build a whole new relationship with them.
Can I offer something? So if we look at this like a software program, right? Like if we look at it like the Matrix, and where every person is like an application or a program that's running inside the software program, there's applications that update themselves. That's what developmental work is you choosing to upgrade your personal program. Now, you can't expect right away for all other programs to be able to be compatible with you. because it's like you're changing, right? So even when we update like an operating system, like a lot of the programs become incompatible immediately, and it's like, oh shit, the operating system upgraded, we need to like readjust. And it's just like you dropping water into a body of water, and there's a ripple. It takes time for the ripples to go out.
Cosmic ripples.
So cosmic ripples. So when you're choosing these kind of experiences, and you walk out and you're like, fuck, my environment doesn't match my inner right now.
Yeah.
What you can take responsibility for is the re-enrollment or the upgrade process of your environment. And this is where people really fuck it up, because one of the ways that we deduce and we test our own realities through agreement. Now, what most people don't see is that the environment that they have around them, they created. Most people don't see this at all. From the moment you shake somebody's hand and you say hello to them, we elicit questions to one another. And the reason we do that is because those questions lead to stories. And those stories are the way that we download and upload information to one another. So if I tell you a story, that story lets you know things about me, what I like, what I don't like, what you can say, what you can't say, what makes me laugh, what turns me off, all that kind of stuff. The funny part is right after we create that environment, now we're in an argument with that environment and the way that interacts with us, and we want that environment to treat us differently than the way that we program them to actually deal with us. So when you go through a massive growth experience and you're growing like a weed, it's like a weed in a garden. People are like, fuck, look at that thing growing. It's growing so fast. Someone needs to pluck that thing out, because it creates like this uncomfortable feeling, because they're like, whoa, this thing is taking over here. Now, if you really see that you're sourcing everything that's happening in your life, you're at the seat of source of everything that's happening in your life, then it's your responsibility that when you alter your perception, that you help other people start seeing that perception, and not to convince them. This is so different than convincing them to see from your point of view. It's just sharing. There's a big difference between complaining about something because it's not the way you want it to be, and sharing a perception so that it opens up an opportunity and a possibility for somebody to look through a different lens in their life. But the lens you're really asking them to look through that's different is your lens. The lens that you're like, can you please step into my archetype for a second and see that I was viewing the world like this in that software program. Now I've upgraded my software, and that software is allowing me to see a more expansive world view. And that's it. They don't need to agree with you. They don't need to say yes. You don't have to be attached to any kind of response that they have, but now they know, holy shit, that's the way Guy perceives the world. I can get that from the experience he had, why he would be doing that, and now you have a partner in crime. So the more that you elicit the power of sharing in your environment, and you take responsibility for altering that software program, now you're going to biologically go out to your environment and still use agreement as a test for your reality. But now when you start creating agreement for the new ways that you choose to operate inside of your experience, and by the way, making right the way that they choose to operate inside of their experience at the same time, because of that, now you step into that environment, and it's completely natural to be in that transformation. And guys, you can put that to work for yourself over and over again. Ilan and I call that your feedback loop network, right? And that's what you want, and that's where most people actually fuck up their transformation, because they get these transformative experiences, they go out into their environment, there's no agreement, and they go, fuck, maybe that didn't actually happen, and they start going back to programming that's comfortable.
But that's the cower, or it's the tell.
Exactly.
You stand in your truth and you honor the other person.
And that's the thing. Do you have the resolve to stand in your truth? And there's that, Eleanor Roosevelt line or something like that, where it's like, success is your ability to stand in no result longer than anybody else and keep playing with full enthusiasm. If you know your truth, stand in your truth, eventually the ripple will impact that environment
and come back to you.
And that transformation will be so natural. But a lot of people don't have the resolve to withstand what's coming. If you have breakthrough experiences, by design, it will create breakdown everywhere in your life. Because everywhere where that breakthrough hasn't impacted yet is going to occur like a breakdown to you. So if you break through in your self-expression, in your emotional body, and everything that you're doing, and your mom's like, I don't get it, fuck, that's a breakdown for you. Or in your job, if you can't show up with that power, that's a breakdown for you. So that breakthrough elicits breakdown everywhere, in every area of your life. And it's going to be like, whoa. Right?
Instead of what did I do? Oh no, things are uncomfortable. It's like knowing, again, as you said, you put it out, that you honor the other. It's like, I just honor that this is now how I see the world, and I can honor that that's how you're choosing to see the world. And there is no, getting to a place of, there is no judgment. There is nothing wrong. There is, and we were talking about this earlier, that love is acceptance of all things. Love is acceptance of every emotion, every vibration, every experience. That is the only way we transmute the darkness into light, by even if you're in front of me. And so, again, going through this beautiful process that Guy explained, the ripple effects there will be people that will probably leave your life.
Sure.
There will be people, and there'll be people also that can, at least then you can honor and respect each other for, it's like, my family is highly Mormon and LDS, and I don't live in that anymore, and yet there is only love and acceptance for myself and for them.
Yeah.
And that's honoring that this is the experience you want, this experience I want. Did you have something?
Yeah, it's just a really, really simple tool that's super practical for anybody that's going through transformation. As we get these little pieces of feedback, as these things come at us on a daily basis, because the way you treated yourself yesterday, where your head was at yesterday, what you ate, what you drank, that can all impact your personal capacity today and going forward, right? So as the feedback loop starts to integrate, come into your mind, come into your life, your boss doesn't like the way you're showing up, your wife, your husband, your kids, your mom, dad, whoever, if you find yourself getting triggered, and it's just a simple measurement tool, scale of 1 to 10, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how triggered am I getting by maybe some of the things that don't match up today? How triggered am I, right? Is it a 5, a 6, a 10? Like, where is it? And then if it's too high on an ongoing basis, it's just a reflection of our personal capacity, which means we've now cowered in our transformation and we've stopped growing. And so that will happen, right? Because we have our up days and our down days, and that's okay. It's just part of the growth process, because every day is going to be a little bit different. But if we're above a 3, 4, 5 for too long,
about a similar thing, right? Or by a same person, or by
it's just a measurement. My capacity is not there to be able to deal with that person today. And so that means I get to go meditate, I get to go to the gym, I get to go work out, I get to go do something to enhance my capacity, and then just love and honor that person for where they are.
Yeah. So
right?
one tool though, along with that, I love that is powerful. Yet we can be aware that when we go, this is what keeps coming up, and then I try to go into emotion to just kind of bypass the experience. There's a part to that I'd love to actually go into, because that's perfect. You go, and it's going back to deal with it. But notice, anything that comes up is just a reflection. He was talking about, it's a reflection for you of what inside you still get to love. It's kind of like we were talking about the Ho'oponopono process, right? Which is like, oh, interesting, I keep getting triggered by this person. This perception keeps coming up. This belief system keeps coming up. I see how I do one thing, I do all things, how it's showing up. It's like, when we take full responsibility, again, that we even have that projection or perception, we go, what inside me do I still get to love? What about that? Even loving my past self, if we're judging people, like, well, you're not as conscious as me, like, ooh, interesting. How am I actually still not honoring and loving where I was in that process at one point, or I judge that to not be wrong, because it's all about what inside you do you still get to love, that is why you're even triggered in the first place. And when you take full responsibility, it might be then step out, do something to create that alignment for yourself that goes, and then lean into facing it. And this is the thing that I really want to get into, is that it's lean in. It's always lean in. This is how society teaches us to operate, is like, oh, there's a conflict.
Run away.
Like, I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to distract instead of actually going, interesting. But notice, see, it's the softness that these guys are all practicing. It's like the, thank you, and interesting. There's no judgment on even having the thought. There's no judgment on shaming ourselves. Like what I've been through in the last little bit, you guys know I've been doing massive integration with super genes and gene keys and pineal gland and all this stuff with Europe, etc. And finding even the tiniest little things that were like where I still shame myself, or the little girl still want to hide, and I could have this thought like, I'm this super conscious being of light that is being the sun. How can I authentically have these kind of still little girl thoughts and fears? And that still is a judgment, and go, thank you for letting me see where I'm still saying I should be. Remember when we went through this with your program? I should be here. It should look like this. Like, that just shows me where I still get to love the little girl that's still scared of being fully accepted for who I am.
Let me pop in here real quick.
Yes.
So I think, science will have us look at the reptilian brain as there's only 2 programs in there, fight or flight. So when there's an opposition, we immediately go, am I going to stand my ground in opposition of what you're doing, or am I just going to hide and run away and shrink my power back down? And I would offer there's a third route, and it's the conscious one, the one that sits above the reptilian brain, and that's surrender. So the space between fight and flight is surrender. Now when most people hear surrender, they hear I'm giving up, which sounds to them like flight, but we're not talking about surrender that way. We're talking about your ability to really be with anything that's happening and always make it right. Because our mind has this capacity of constantly judging. Is this right? Is this wrong? Do I agree? Do I disagree? Is this good? Is this bad?
It's projection.
And we're doing that moment by moment. However, you don't have to actually be involved in that process. You can observe that process and operate outside of it. Surrender means acceptance of all things the way that they are and the way that they aren't, free of shoulds, free of I think this because blah, 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 blah. It's just like, oh, that's what's happening. How else could it be in this moment than the way that it's arising? And I'm going to be with the way that it's arising in this moment and still stand inside of my truth and still allow them to stand inside of their truth. Guys, nothing in this world has ever moved forward or grown when we've used opposition. Ever. War has never created peace. You get that? That's opposition. Mother Teresa used to say, if you invite me to an anti-war rally, I won't come. If you invite me to a peace rally, I'll be there. Because she wants to stand for surrender. That's what peace is surrendering. So inside your experience, however you're doing it, if you're growing and you're expanding and you're transforming, let me give you this distinction. When you go from point A to point B inside a transformation, but you start using point B, your new transformation, as a point of judgment of is this good, is this bad, is this right, is this wrong, all that stuff, then you have not transformed when you've made your past wrong and who you were wrong. We call that convergence event. That is not a transformation event. Transformation is surrender and acceptance of all things. I am great how I am, and it was perfect the way that I was also, right? So when you can,
perfect process,
right? So now you're not judging people from your new transformed state. So it's not like this is right, and if you're not transformed, that's wrong. And by the way, I'm a fucking an A student at doing that because that's what I thought transformation was. Like, wow, this is more right than the way that I was. Now everyone should be this way, and that's just as fucked up because now all you're doing is just expanding your judgment.
My way's right and your way's wrong is never wrong.
So that goes back to the feedback loop of scaring people. Because now they feel like they're being actually made wrong for how they perceive the world.
We see in the full circle how we're doing exactly what we
what we are afraid of.
They're doing. Well, you thought they were judging you, and we see how we actually judge that.
You see this right now in the political arena all the time with like Trump, and I don't want to bring him to the conversation to do that, but I'm just saying my point is all the people who are like peace, love, and surrender, and all these things, and every time Trump does something, they're like, this fucking asshole, what an idiot, being the very thing that they're standing in opposition of. It's the same thing when you get cut off in a car, and you're like, what an asshole, and you start driving like a maniac to go tell that person off. You've just become the thing that pissed you off. So it's and this is by the way, biological, that we mirror the thing that's annoying us, and you become the very thing you're standing in opposition of, only empowering the thing that you don't want to arrive in this world. So it's when you bring consciousness in and you get out of fight or flight, which is basically what's been happening for a long time in our society. And I offer you that there is this amazing, expansive, beautiful place called surrender, that the power of your godliness exists in that place. The power of your heart and your passion and your love exists in that place. That is who you are, is a being of full surrender, full acceptance, full transformation every single fucking moment of life. And this is something for all of us to explore and grow into as we start ascending as a society.
So before we move on, let me, just for the sake of anybody that's you guys are way above my head.
Greg's going to bring it back.
Let me bring it down to a really, really simple topic, and then we can talk about it because this is how it will affect everybody's life.
Sure.
Let's say there's a husband and wife, and they've been married for 5-10 years. They went through their first few years of being, out of shape. And then one person, which we see all the time, says, this is not me. This is not my body. I'm going to start going back to the gym. And the other partner, so let's say it's the woman that goes. The husband's like, I fully support it. Go get hot, babe. And then 3 months later,
she's hot.
She's hot. And she's spending an hour or two at the gym. And then his head starts thinking, now, what's wrong? Do I have to do it? Is she going to leave me? So how would we wrap this conversation into something really simple like that?
I like that a lot. That happens quite often. It's been interesting. I can even speak from a very personal experience. Right before I came here, I decided to do a 30-day cleanse. And the 30-day cleanse was no alcohol, no sugar, exercising, which I do pretty regularly anyway, and my wife wanted to do it also. However, we had previously scheduled engagements where we were going to be with friends, going out to dinner, we were going to drink, etc., and she got confronted by, well, what do you mean you're not going to drink? We're going to go to this thing, and we're going to do that. And it was interesting to kind of deal with and look at where's that coming
The
from?
breakdown in agreements.
Right?
Yeah.
So then she chose to start, like, instead of on this date, she chose to start on this date because she had these things and she wanted to still enjoy, which listen, it's just my thing. It wasn't anything.
Choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure. So here's what I would say to that. I think, and this goes back to everything we've been talking about, and I like this example, is when you choose to change or transform anything in yourself, there is going to be a natural ripple effect to all of those around you. Ha! My wife is calling right now.
We love you.
Fanny, we're on the video.
So, hi, baby. Perfect timing, as always. What I would suggest is that you really want to get interested in what is occurring for the other person. Because where people tend to go wrong is we assume.
Yeah.
And we assume that, like you said, the husband is out there, she's going to the gym, getting hot, and we assume that they're responding a certain way. And we just don't ask.
Right.
We just don't ask. And I'm like,
this is very basic.
And we just build a story, right? And then we live into that story, and then we make shit up about that story, and none of it is real, and then eventually it ends up in this huge fucking blowout because...
All based on misperception. And this is because society doesn't operate authentically.
Exactly.
Again, let's get back to it is what it is. It's okay. So I when I first, years ago, I started really as a nutrition fitness expert and the body mind mentor, and I'd see people want to get into my programs being like, I want the body, but there's a reason why it was sabotaging. And we find, like, again, these women that are like, hey, great, it's okay for me. Can I go to the gym? Can I actually take time for myself? And they do that, and all of a sudden then the husband says, oh, you're going to the gym again? Like you said, because the inside stuff that they haven't brought out is, I know, I want to spend time with you, and maybe their love language is quality time, and they haven't said, okay, for us to have a win-win. We're talking down the jungle, something came up for him with how he's, shifting into this, and I said, the law of relationships, you're feeling like left out, that instead of us spending the night times together is when I've gone to the gym. It's like, oh, well, thank you for helping me understand that you want to spend more time with me. How could we create this in our schedule to be a win-win? Or to find in here that, oh, I'm nervous that, you're going to get all hot and that you might leave me. It's like, oh, sweetness, I'm doing this so I feel connected to you and can have the best sex ever, and I can play with the kids, and that's the true intention, but we never speak it out.
We just never talk.
And so it always comes back to when you're not feeling, and this is why I bring it all back to, like, we are infinite, beautiful beings of light and powerful creators.
Hi, Fanny.
We're meant to have anything. We love you, Fanny. And when we're in a place that doesn't feel good, we're out of alignment of that truth. So if you don't feel awesome, if you feel any thought or anything that doesn't feel good, it's not peaceful, it's not, badass, or if it's not awesome, it's like, that's when we go internal to reflect, what have I created here? And even to feel, or to have the husband say something like that and go, oh, so women would do this. The husband might say, oh, you're going to the gym again? And instead of them going, oh, I notice what comes up for me. Again, I'm not saying, well, you said I could go to the gym and you don't let me do what I want to do. Or there's no projection involved. The you or make or made is a fucking story, because I noticed when that came up, I felt like maybe it's not okay for me to go to the gym, or that it's not okay for me to take time for myself, and that I noticed, like, this is why I want to go to the gym, is I want to feel healthy, and I want to feel
all
strong,
you have to do is ask. That's the thing. Like, we assume, hey, Martha and Kevin, all you have to do is ask. Like, we live in a world that we think we know what people are thinking. And
biologically, we think that people know what we're thinking, and they don't. And I just want to offer one quick thing before you jump in there, because Ilan keeps saying the mistake that you're making. No one's making a mistake. Everything inside your experience is absolutely perfect. What you're having or what you're experiencing is something that's confronting you, and that's not a mistake. What's confronting you, because that's confronted you most of your life. That is feedback. It's decades old. The genealogy of that shit. It's not like when you have an experience with somebody and they trigger you. The emotions that you're feeling, the sensation in your body, you cannot tell me that that's a new sensation that you experienced. You've experienced that thousands, tens of thousands of times before. So is it really the person in front of you that's triggering the experience, or is the experience live inside of you, and this particular situation is triggering it, and now you're transposing a belief on this perfect being in front of you and saying, you're doing this to me, and what you're removing from yourself is the ability to transform that in that moment, because you're externalizing what's happening instead of internalizing and saying, wow, I created that again. How did I do that again? What am I being right now? And how can I shift my perception and the feeling inside my body so that I no longer have to have this experience and be confronting every single time this happens? Guys, so many of you know this. You live in an experience that feels like you're on a hamster wheel, and it's like, how the fuck do I get off this fucking thing, right? And the reason you never seem to get off it is because you're always looking for, what do I need to do to my environment to change the way that I feel, instead of just going in and altering your perceptions and sensations in your body. The way these guys experience love in their bodies, or the way you experience love in your body, is not the way I experience love in my body. Yeah. At some point, I had a sensation in my body. Somebody said, that's love. And I went, oh, that must be love. And I made that connection. And now that sensation in my body lives like love. That's for all I know, when Marcy's angry, she has the same sensation I have when it's love. We can't transpose our experience on other people and say, this is the right way to have it. 7.5 billion people with 100 trillion fucking cells inside of them having infinite possibilities. This is all God essence showing up in different ways to manifest its own beauty. Genocide for one person is transformation for another person.
Someone, I think it was Steve Sisler that taught me that we don't see how people are, we see how we are in other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because of
all
that,
reflection.
you know, like you were saying with the wife and the husband, right? So the wife has this outlook. Okay, I'm going to the gym. I'm making myself hot for you. Right? Like, I want to feel sexy in bed. I want to feel sexy when we go out, all that. And she thinks that you're doing it for you. Right? So she just assumes like you're behind her 100% because like, I'm getting fucking sexy from a man. And the man, in his world, he's like, she leaves me for 2 hours. Like, who is she going to see? Who is she getting hot for? Why is she all of a sudden getting hot for someone, right? Like, and instead of just having a conversation, like a simple conversation. And that's, I mean, what I took away from this morning for me is that's the work that is there for me. That's the opportunity that I have. That I have to do, that I get to have when I go back, is I get to have these amazing conversations with my friends and family and learn and grow from them.
And see what you were triggered by, what
I triggered.
Exactly, like what else you get to love inside yourself, how else you get to honor their perceptions and experiences. It all just is, and I think that's the basis behind all of this, is that just everyone is worthy. Like, everyone is a genius, everyone is worthy of, and it's your right to have whatever experience you want. And that's why we again think like, well, you know, if I show up this way and someone chooses this reaction, that we're even judging that they have that reaction. It's their right to have that reaction. It's our right. So the thing that I always brought myself back to, and remembering this as I shifted through, you know, my journey, was that it's perfect. I'd say it's perfect all the time. And people are like, what? You're saying like, you know, being a bitch mom is perfect, or being this. Like I told you guys, like if I caught myself wanting to go like this, like, interesting. Like, and it's my perfect process. Because if I had a bitch moment, then I go, oh, did that serve me? What did it create? What did it create with my relationship? Is that the kind of relationship I want? Is that who I want to be? And it's all beautiful feedback. So everything is perfect. And I think that's what we want to bring about, is that no matter what and that there is always, you know, like Greg said, with social contracts, there's always going to be a ripple and change. I think, you know, maybe even if you guys want to share, like what did you come out of it with, so that you're like, this is who I am and this is who I choose to be, so that we can stand for that message of truth, is this is why we're willing to do this.
Can I do that with just one thing before we go around and say that? Like what just resonated for me. So Fanny just wrote, love this topic, walking into a porn party with the kids. We'll have to watch all the replay later. So I just occurred to me like, kids. Right? So several of us here are parents. And I was actually just finished reading a really interesting book called
in the other room.
Conscious Parent. And the whole thing about Conscious Parent is, one of the distinctions that she talks about, it's like when a child misbehaves, right? Then as a parent, there's this fine line. Well, how do we correct that behavior, right? How do we teach them a new behavior? And usually when they're in it, it's very difficult. So one of the things that she was suggesting is like after, you know, like a few days after, when they're not in that situation and you're like in a great flow, you can have a conversation with them and actually have them tell you, like replay that memory for them.
It's very Socratic.
And then have them say, okay, next time that this happens, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do? And start creating that conversation. So the reason I'm bringing that up is, I mean, we could have a whole live just about this, but like, but the reason I bring it up is because don't assume that this doesn't work with kids either. Like, I have a 5.5-year-old and 4-year-old, and I do this with them all the time. It's like, I don't assume to know their experience. And I don't assume to pretend that they respond a certain way. They are their own perfect being, experiencing life in their own perfect way. And it's my job, or I've made it my job, to get really interested in what that perception is. It's not just about your husband or your friends or your family or whatever. It's like, this is so important to do with your kids as well. I just wanted to...
I'm going to jump in here too with just something around, go from relationships, marriages to kids, because my space is the corporate space. Another place where we're not talking is at work. So whether you're an entrepreneur watching this and it's so like your people, like I mean, I have 3 employees. And I'm always like profoundly stumped when like I find out that they didn't feel comfortable sharing with me, because I feel like I'm trying to create the space, right? But there's always like maybe just some sort of like, I don't feel like I can, I don't feel worthy, whatever. There's some lack of communication that goes on. If you work for someone else, how many times have you stopped yourself before you say something to your boss because what will they think, or what will the person in the cube next to me think? I mean, if you're looking for the zombie apocalypse, like we're so obsessed with in TV, like it's happened. Walk into any cube farm and any corporation.
Cube farm.
People not talking. We've lost the communication. We communicate over instant messenger as opposed to walking 2 cubes down to go have a real biochemical connection with that person. And so that's just one place I would just implore you to have
as a boss, right?
Yeah.
What do you value most about an employee?
Oh gosh,
it's doing everything that we don't want to do, and
I'm saying don't you? We want to surround ourselves with people that
we love,
are open and come to you and share with you. No one, no one's looking for someone who's like, yes, boss. Thanks, boss. None of us want to hire those people.
Absolutely. You want somebody who you have a connection with, who follows through, who does what they say they're going to do, and communicates with you.
And
my
that's
team
only
is
possible
spread
by being authentic and sharing what's there.
My team is spread all over the country, but it always feels to us, for me, like we're very connected because we communicate text message and we're joking. We're a virtual company, but we have that deep connection because we keep talking. Still not perfect.
Never perfect,
right? So just understand that
always perfect.
The communication inside the workplace is so epically important. Some people really get to
in the MarcyLockMentoring.com, if you know how we went through it before, you're like, Mars, how do you walk through this? It goes through those 5 steps. So if you want to just practice those steps of like when you notice something's off, this is how we move through. And this coming back to transformation, to any resistance in your life, anything, if we just start to actually practice saying, oh, whatever I'm experiencing is okay, whatever I'm projecting is okay, whatever they're experiencing is okay. Now, how do I actually be responsible for this experience and make the change to create what I would want to experience and going through that?
I had a funny thought. So, as a parent, as a parent, what gives us solace about our children? We say things like they're just going through a phase. And we're in the expectation that it's momentary in time and they will grow out of this. And then we get to become an adult and there's no more phases. It's like, this is your fucking phase? Really? Like, we don't say that, but it's like we're always going through a fucking phase. That's all of life is just phases. So it's like you can get so much solace by looking at the person in front of you, just be like, huh. And guys, we're always dealing with the inner child. There is no adult. Adult is a possibility. It's a word.
Your inner child is running the ship.
Yeah, just because your child becomes taller and the voice deepens does not turn you into an adult by default. Like,
or for all of you guys, it got sweeter and softer this week.
Toodly. You can choose adult as a possibility if you want and redefine that for yourself, but there's no default state adult. We're just children that have gotten older. And when you look at your inner programming, you're literally dealing with your inner child, and your inner child is going through a phase right now. And it's like, what a beautiful thing to just apply to everyone in your life. Be like, they're in that phase right now, right? And then it's like, well, how can we support them in growth in this phase, or give them an alternate paradigm to look through so that they're more empowered in the way that they show up in the world and how they communicate and how they relate and how they communicate and how they, and then just like everything around that, right? It's just I was like, wow, like for me, that's a really, like I've never actually thought of that before. That's a game-changing archetypal way of jumping out and just being like, oh, wow.
That's what you guys have been practicing the last 2 months. I mean, if you guys have been like, what's been different for you in the last 3 months of going from like the, gotta have a business strategy, gotta do this, in the masculine, what all these guys are practicing is tapping into the feminine, which is the receive. And it is like, it's the feminine is fierce emotion, fiercely feeling, fiercely present.
Intuitive.
So intuitive that, I mean, it's been 3 months and you guys are massively different in how you're operating, and that's even like tuning in with your kids and in all things, so.
All right, I say it's time to go play in Colombia.
Yeah, we're ready to go play. We felt really inspired to share this because Ilan had this come up, and this is real experiences. This is what we're here to do. Yeah. Is step up and say, this is what's happening for us. Yeah, everybody goes through it. Yeah. So 3 words that I feel like are powerful to end and align to and understand is that it's always about allow the experience, accept the experience in front of you, and embrace it. That's the leaning in that then goes, taking full responsibility. It's all perfect, amazing feedback. We love you guys.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll do this again.
We love your attention. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.